Okay, so I'm in a very busy area right now, San Marcos. It's like the big square. So I wanted to talk about kind of how this place got started. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. You have an island, a country state, formerly as it was. Now it's just a city that's part of Italy. It recently became unified, actually. So this was a place that was created out of necessity. Venice was a city that was on the coast. It didn't have this island portion. Actually, there was just some random fishermen that occupied the islands. There were a little over 100 islands where Venice is right now. Not as many as there are right now, but you know, they added on, which segues into what I'll mention later. But at first, why they ended up on this island was there's the Byzantine Empire on the east side, and then the Roman Empire on the west side. The Roman Empire was falling. There was very difficulty in protecting their own city from invaders, from the barbarians. A lot of people fled to Venice towards the coast. So the city got populated, and then as that population grew, they just needed more land. But initially, why they really developed the island and went on the island was when they went to war with the barbarian group. They ended up going to the island to realize that, one, their naval capabilities was their biggest advantage, and that if they were able to create an establishment on this island, on all these islands, it was going to act as some sort of a moat for them, so that they were able to keep their population protected, you know, from invaders, and you know, no one had to worry about that. And then, so you know, that was their original rationale, and it worked. And also, for example, over time they developed, you know, cures and I guess tolerances for certain diseases that were being transmitted on the island, specifically because it's really swampy, right? Like, this reminds me a lot of Florida, just like the swampiness, especially when I was on my way to the airport to pick up my parents. It was really, like, you could tell it's like very swampy. Like, building something on top of this doesn't make a ton of sense, but they did. And how they did it was actually very smart and kind of a fluke. Was they took wooden stakes. They took wooden stakes. I mean, right now it's in the millions. The amount of wooden stakes that they have is in the millions. They put them down, they stuck them in the ground, and essentially doing that and driving those stakes into the ground, they created friction and just kind of packed in all that dirt and made it super tight. But also, you know, you'd think wood is not very good when you combine it with water, but the nice thing about this specifically is that it's seawater. So the seawater actually made it so that, you know, there's no oxygen. So you need oxygen in order for there to be mold or stuff like that. So that was actually, like, I don't know if it was like on purpose, or an accident. Based on the research, it seemed like there isn't really a ton of clarity, but it ended up working. So they just put a bunch of stakes. I mean, it's millions of stakes under a wooden platform, and then on top of that platform they used stone as kind of the foundation, and then on top of that they used bricks. But the bricks were used with a specific type of mortar that was very flexible. So you have essentially a wooden bottom, wooden base that's on spikes, which again, this is still here today, which is kind of insane. Like, the fact that it's lasted this long. And then you have a wood platform, and then on top of that platform you have stone. And then how they built it up was using bricks, right, with a special type of mortar that was very flexible, and you could only build up to 3 stories. So if you look around, like, a lot of these buildings, they don't exceed 3 stories, and that was made very specifically. And then if you look at the buildings, the Venetian style is like big windows, and that was in order to keep the weight down. They made it in a specific way to where, you know, bricks are obviously more expensive, more heavier than just open, you know, windows. So that was kind of like created their style, but it was also out of necessity because you needed to keep the weight low in order for you know, the building to not freaking, you know, sink down as it already kind of is slowly but surely, especially with how many tourists come here. It's insane that this freaking island is still here. But yeah, so essentially it was just out of necessity. You know, they, you know, the Roman Empire couldn't protect them. They were being invaded. They realized they could go to the island as a way to protect themselves. They used these stakes in order to create a foundation on like soupy, like, the thing about the vegetation is when it dies, combined with like the dirt, it like creates this really mushy type of soil. So yeah, so it's actually really interesting. And now, you know, a lot of the locals, they don't even live here. They live on like the main part. Actually, the main area is like on the mainland is actually where about 200,000 of the citizens live, and then around like 50-60,000 actually live on the island portion of Venice. I mean, this is like, and it makes sense. I mean, this is like clearly like a tourist destination. I don't imagine anyone other than tourists living here, because one, it's like so expensive. People want to live here. People love this place, so they're willing to pay, you know, top dollar for it. So it's just very interesting place. So yeah, based on my research, it's just very interesting, really beautiful. My parents love it. They think it's like amazing. So I'm out, guys. Peace.